Right, well, welcome back to the weekly yarns. Well, as you can see by the weather, things are starting to improve a little bit, aren't they? We're getting up to about 12 degrees now. Today's supposed to be a light breeze, so hopefully we'll get this done early in the morning and then we'll move on. Hopefully we'll get. I was hoping that we might be getting some painting done this weekend, but I think it might still be a little bit too cold for a touch of painting. Because I do think any painting that I've got to get done is going to I'm going to go to the farm to do it, because I've got it's the PTO, the rock shaft. I don't think I'm going to get those ready this weekend to get those painted. By the way, those are the final drives, or one final drive. Earlier in the week, spoke to Stuart again. Clutch stop brake band is still here. Stuart's still waiting for those to come back from the people who bond on the material in here, and he says to us once he gets them back he'll keep one to the side for us, and he'll drop us an email to let us know that they're in, and then we can get that little job rattled off and sorted out, and hopefully we should be able to make the gaskets and get the lid on for the gearbox at that stage, and get the locking taper, because there's a taper goes down, isn't there, between the clutch housing, what we would have called the bell housing, goes down between the clutch housing and the gearbox lid. There's a locking taper goes in there that you bolt through when you're bolting the whole tractor up to keep it rigid. So hopefully that'll turn up in the next couple of days and we'll get that job moved on. So the other day, after 5-6 days, 1/2 inch BSF, 5 inches long, £1 an inch, £5 each they are. So I bought those as jacking out bolts for the stub axle on the final drives. I wasn't sure how long I was needing, so I just got 5 inches. I've got plenty of length anyway on them. What we do need to make, I'll show you when we go around. I'll have a little bit walk around in a minute. I need to make some pressure plates, because what you do to pull the stub axles is you remove opposite bolts, you put in thrust pads, and then you go down with your jacking out bolts onto the thrust pads, and it stops the seal carrier from buckling as you pull the shaft out of the bearing. And according to the handbook, you cannot do this on a bench. It has to be done using the final drive case and the seal carrier to pull it apart. So someone somewhere must have tried this in a vise and they buckled the seal carrier. So little job for next week, isn't it? As I say, what I'll do is when we go around I'll explain to you what my plans are, and you can drop us a comment below and let us know what you think, because the price of metal in the book, it specifies 14mm thick, 9/16. Well, I've been pricing up flat bar 9/16. In fact, it's difficult to get a hold of 9/16. So I was looking at 1/2 inch and 5/8. And for the block of steel, and I drew it out in my book so I could measure it up and find out what rectangular block I would need to get that piece of steel out of it. And it was 50 by 120 by 15. As I say, just for whatever reason, you can't get a hold of 9/16 flat stock bar at the minute in the UK. The 1/2 inch works out at about £20 a block. Everything seems to be 20 quid in the UK at the minute. For whatever reason, like the steel for the pullers, they wanted £40 a length for that. 40 quid, no, was it £20 a length? £20 a length, I think. And that's why I ended up buying a rebar, because the rebar I got for £17 pennies for 2 lengths. Well, remains to see if it's going to work, doesn't it? It's supposed to be high tensile. It's supposed to be T16, which apparently is high tensile rebar, but we'll see. We'll see. This week we were talking about the seal carriers, weren't we? And I showed you the seal carriers to go in the axles. And I got a message off Marshall Smart, who was said to us, because he had obviously looked, you could see the seals in the carriers, and he had said I had a seal in the wrong way. His carriers had, and I think I'm writing this, aren't I, Marshall? Your inside seal was facing out and your outside seal was facing in. And by that I mean that the inside seal was sealing against the oil in the axle, and the outside seal was sealing against dirt or moisture coming in from the brake drum end. Both mine face out. And Marshall was saying you've got one in the wrong way. So I did a bit of digging, went back through the workshop manuals, and I'll pop this picture up here for you to show that in the workshop manuals, both the seals face out. Both the seals seal against the oil in the axle escaping into your brakes. Now, I did also get a message from Campbell which said, no, you're right, both seals face out because they do, the whole intention is to seal hydraulic oil into the casting. So I'll pop this picture up for you. As I say, anyone else has got any difference, let me know. We'll have a discussion about it and see what's what. But as I say, the handbook quite clearly shows in this image both seals facing outwards, I would say outwards, keeping the oil in the axle. Alright, hope that helps. Right, let's take you for a quick walk. We'll show you what we have getting done this week. We've got a little bit left to do on it. A couple of spot welds to put on, and then we'll be able to start and whiz this to bits, won't we? Let's go and have a look. 2 1 metre lengths of rebar did turn up eventually, 24 hours after the email said it was delivered. So we're going to knock this down here to 1/2 inch on the end for about 3/4 of an inch. We'll do that with a grinder. Right, intermediate stage. We're down to about 0.507 there. Chamfer on the top's got to be greater than the depth of the full thread in order to get it to sit level on the top. Right, let's get the thread on it. Number 1 finished. Let we'll get on, get number 2 done. Right, 2 bars threaded, 1/2 inch UNC. So the plan is now, find a couple of bits of channel bar that we can use as a cap at the top, put our jack on, and then a couple of plates welded on top of there to stop it pulling back through the channel bar. Right, what we've got here, we've got our rebar threaded into the brake drum down the bottom here. Coming up, these plates, 6mm plates, 18mm holes. As you can see, this one wants a little bit of fettling. It's just nipping on the rebar. Must be a little fat spot in the rebar here. It's just nipping. Wants a bit of fettling. These are going to get welded onto the rebar here. So I've got something solid to pull against. This bit of channel bar, as you can see, it's just rolled steel. This was the headboard off one of the old bale trailers up at the farm. But it should be enough because this is the web that's doing the pulling. Not these. These are just there to stop it twisting. This web here is what's going to be doing the pressurizing onto the rods. The studs are just simply to nip this in place to keep it all tied together while it's sitting loose. We'll go down here, little 5-ton bottle jack. That's all. That should be enough to pop that off there, hopefully. Because what we'll do what we'll do down here is we'll just apply a little bit of heat gently around this collar and pop it open. Now, I don't know whether once the bottom clears there it'll pop, or whether it's got to come up to there, because that's the seal bearing surface there. I don't know if once it clears that, well, once it clears that it will, but I don't know if there's a shoulder here or not yet. It's a keyway here. I sprayed this with WD-40, hoping that it might just penetrate down in. As you see, we're getting the linkage brackets off, and I managed to totally destroy one of the studs. The nut came off and took the thread with it. The other two did come to bits, despite the fact that they are in horrendous condition. Actually, you can see the threads starting to break through there. Yeah, you can see through that one. Maybe that's why that one came off so good. I've got them just steeping in vinegar at the minute. But they're just 5/8 UNC that in, so a 5/8 UNC bolt will go in, and once I've got the casing stripped, I'm going to have a go at popping these out. But as you can see in here, we've got 1, 2, 3 that's snapped off inside, and that's when I got the tractor. This one came, that 1, 2, that wasn't, that was 3 bolts, no 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, that was 4 bolts keeping that final drive on. And this is the dowel hole. You can see the dowel hole at the top end here is ovalled. There might be enough further down to hold the dowel in place. We'll have a look at that once we pull this to bits. So the other day we brought this home in the back of Deb's car, and she didn't know it was there until I got it home. Then I got a bollocking for having it in the back of the car. But while I lifted it out with the engine crane, I took the opportunity to rattle all these bolts out of here, knock the back cover off, and drain all the oil out of it. There we go. Now, see, we'll pop that on there without it falling off. You can see down here the grey oil where it was emulsified, but the rest of it looking alright. And actually, while I had it opened, it did look alright inside. But these are going to have to get replaced. The majority of them are reasonable. There is 1 or 2 that's absolutely flogged to death, where they've either just been eaten away with rust, or someone's putting a spanner on, or a 12-point socket and ripped all the corners off them. I had a 6-point socket on to get them out. So, again, loosened all the drain plugs. These are loose now. Drain plugs, filler plugs, they're all loose. Right, that's it for this weekly yarn. We haven't getting an awful lot done, but we've made a bit of progress. A lot of times just been sitting waiting for bits to turn up in the post. That's life, innit? Eh? But we've got our puller 99%. Couple of spot welds on top of there, and that's ready to go. We'll get the welder out, we'll weld them little tabs on top of there, and we'll give that a push, and we'll see what's going to happen. Eh? If we get them off, I'll get a couple of pictures, I'll put them on the end of this yarn if I pop them off today. Alright, well, that's it for this week. Short and sweet, definitely short and sweet. As always, your time is greatly appreciated when you come visiting us. Hopefully through the week we will get that totally dismantled. We'll do a video, obviously we'll do a video on taking that to bits. Hopefully, keep our fingers crossed, as I say, that we do get it took to bits and cleaned and prepped for painting. Remember, don't overthink it. It's only nuts and bolts. And hopefully we'll see you through the week. with an update on that lot. See you in the next one. Bye now.